Hello, Hammer here again. Today I want to show you a basic setup with Newtrol 8. This will take some time because I plan to do everything cable by cable and don't cut anything. As you can see, I started here by creating a Newtrol 8 and one NN19, setting it to bassoon setting, and setting the Newtrol 8 to all off in a bipolar mode. What I want to do now is to play the NN19 instrument from the Newtrol 8, so I connect gate and note out from the Newtrol 8, and we shall also set focus to the Newtrol. And as you can hear now, we are playing the bassoon from the Newtrol 8. So what's the use of this? Well, as we continue, you shall find that we will be able to set up a number of instruments and control them from the same Newtrol 8, giving a good control of the output and settings. It's also kind of a modular setup. We'll come to that later on. What I'm doing now is I'm connecting some of the outputs from the Newtrol 8 to the CV inputs on the combinator in which the instrument is set in. So soon done with this. What I'm doing is that I use the 8 possible CV inputs for a combinator, and I will use these to control certain settings of the NN19. So I will also include on the labels here what I plan to control from the Newtrol 8. Attack, decay and release. Probably not entirely the same settings as you may choose, but this is so you get the hang of it. So I will use 2 columns here of control knobs and faders for this first NN19 I'm creating. Besides attack, decay and release and the volume out, I will also enable settings for octave and semi tone and some filter settings. Like so. So we also need to specify in the combinator what each CV input should control in the device itself. Oscillator octave, semitone, and some filter settings, resonance and frequency. So this is something you are used to doing, I assume, but difference now is that you will be able to change these settings from this Newtrol 8 control board. Ooh, that's a long release time. Bassoon with a release. Nothing strange here. You could accomplish this by simply connecting your remote control to the NN19 itself. Difference here is that with the Newtrol 8 we have only occupied a small part of the entire control board, so we will be able to control several other devices from this same control board simultaneously if you have a remote control allowing you to do that. Now I'm saving this combinator patch. So now we're getting close to what I meant earlier when I said that it's a little bit like a modular setup, because now I create yet another combinator here, and for that one I will use the same setup as for the earlier. So by copying this setup, I don't need to program the combinator for this one. However, the cables need to be connected. So, combi 2, right? Now we have two different instruments and we want to play them simultaneously from the same MIDI keyboard as going through the Newtrol 8. So let's connect the cables first, and of course this will take some time. In the meantime, let me tell you that of course I have done this previously with other devices as well, so you will be able to download some combinator patches and song setups from the product page at hammer.se. In case you cannot find any product page for the Newtrols, you can look into the mod panel pages, which are exactly the same when it comes to how they work and what is possible to do. It's actually only the looks that differs between the Newtrols and the mod panels. I'm saying this because I have not yet decided when and if there will be any specific Newtrol page at hammer.se, or if I will simply refer the propeller head product page to the mod panel homepage. So as you can see now, I'm also connecting the second NN19 combinator to the same gate and note outputs from the Newtrol. And to do this I use a couple of spider CVs to split the signals from note and gate, and then connect it to each of the NN19 combinators. Like so. And while I'm at it, I will also do the same for the modulation wheel and the pitch wheel. So these are the external connections to the combinators, and as you know, you can always change the internals of the combinator. That is, you can change patch. This is a clavinet. And when I create new instruments, they get the focus, so I need to set that back to the Newtrol. So now we have two instruments playing. What I was saying earlier was that you can change the content, you can change patch on the combi, and the cables will still be connected. So in this is what I mean by calling this kind of a modular setup, because you can connect and a couple of combinators like this, and then you can change the content of these combinators, but the connections between the Newtrol and the combinators will remain. The cables will be intact as long as you don't have any internal connections in the combinators. So now we can, from this Newtrol 8 panel, we can create sounds consisting of both the bassoon and the clavinet, and do whatever we like with that to get the sound we like. And we can have fun. And of course we can also save the settings on this Newtrol 8 panel. When you find a nice sound, you can save that to a specific patch. I won't do that now, but as the Newtrol handles patches, you can save all knob and fader settings on the Newtrol to a patch and recall it later on, or jump between settings. Next, I got the idea that from my Newtrol 8 I also want to have some effects to control from the same remote control simultaneously. So I create a screen, I put it in a combinator, and I go through a similar procedure, connecting, in this case, only 4 cables actually, working with the damage control, the type of distortion, and P1 and P2, ignoring the remaining controls on the screen. So let's connect this to the Newtrol 8 as well. knob A will control the type of distortion. Knob 2 will set P1, and knob C will set the P2. Of course, the Scream distortion unit has CV inputs, so I could have put this in outside a combinator and put these cables directly to the CV inputs of the Scream. But this is true only for a few parameters, and for many other effects it's only possible to control the parameters by using the combinator programmer. So by putting it in a combinator, I sort of make a module of it, which I can reuse for different setups with different neutrals. So right now I'm using the mouse to move the controls because I don't have my remote connected, but all these things with the remote, you can do all these things in parallel. Fade in, fade out, and so on. So what I'm doing now is I want to be able to mix the two instruments into the Scream unit, and to be able to mix this from the Newtrol, I need to have some kind of CV control for the audio signals, and for this I'm using this mixer which has CV control for the level. So instead of going directly from the instrument combinators to the main console of Reason, I put these through this small mixer which I can control from the Newtrol 8 by using faders or knobs. And these mix channels I can remove after I have relocated the cables. Oh, go away. So like that. So I'm using a Blamsoft audio splitter. This is a free device in case you didn't know. Actually, in this setup I'm creating right now, it's only stock devices from Propellerhead and this free Blamsoft audio splitter, and of course the Newtrol, which is the only paid rack extension in this setup. So in order to control the levels with the control voltage, I should pull down the level to on the mixer to 0 and only use the control voltage to set the volume. So I also need to set the inputs to the screen combinator, and for this I will use the send output, the first send output from the mixer. So I set these knobs. I also need to split the audio now so that I get the bassoon to channel 11 and the clavinet to channel 12. And when I do this, I need to move my main output to one of the send channels as well. So I'm reusing this mixer for two purposes. I mix channel 1, 2 and 3 are the final mix, going through to the output send 4. So I'm setting the knobs right now, and for mixing into the screen I use the channels 11 and 12, and these need to be set correctly as well. Now that I have the mixer, I can use the control voltage from the volume faders of the Newtrol 8 to control the mixer level rather than the level in the unit itself, in the NN19 combinator. So here we set the send 1 level, and we need to pull down all these and control the levels of each channel only with the control voltage from the Newtrol 8. Focus is okay. What we need to do now is check that we got the control voltage to the correct, and these should not be bipolar. So there is some sound there, but the fader doesn't do its work. So what's the problem? Now you get me with some kind of fault finding regarding the cable connections. Okay. I connected to the pan input rather than the level input, and also the scream level control was in the wrong channel. So this cable goes to the amount of bassoon going into the scream, clavinet going into the scream, and this one is the volume out from the scream to the final mix. Okay. Yeah, as you notice, we need to set all the faders of the mixer down to 0 to enable full control to the Newtrol 8. Now this setup seems to be as I wanted it. It took some time, but we finally got there. And of course this kind of setup can be reused. You can use this same neutral and cable connections and change the content of the combinators where we put the instruments. You can change to other instruments. You can also create combinators with other instruments than NN19. And you can of course control other parameters if you like. Now we have a lot of units here which are not included in any combinator until now. So what I did was I selected all the units outside the instrument combinators, and I created a new combinator. I reset focus to the Newtrol itself, and actually I even delete the track for this new combinator. I don't want to keep a track for the combinator itself. I just want to be able to play through this Newtrol, which is inside the combinator now. So why do I do this? Well, because I want to keep this setup and the cables and settings and so on. So I put them in the combinator, and I can save the combinator patch. Right now I'm not in full control of where I put these patches, but if you are careful you should be able to create different directories and folders where you can store your different combinator patches. This one is dead. I can take it away. So we have here one control combinator including the Newtrol 8, and then we have two combinators with instruments, the NN19s. Now both are playing the Combi 1 patch, so both are using the bassoon, but you can of course set different settings to the parameters from the Newtrol 8 console. And we have this final Scream module, which I don't save. I just leave it like that, and have a nice evening.